Short video on HDR photography. Some of you might find this interesting, but to really do it, you need a fairly high-end single-lens reflex camera. All that will become clear to you in a little bit. There are some things, if you happen to have one of those cameras, that will do auto bracketing. Here's the kind of motor drive selection on my Nikon. The C stands for continuous, and continuous L is low and H is high. The next setting, and again, you're going to have to read your manual unless you happen to have a Canon D7000, because they all do this a little differently. But I have a bracket button, which means that I can set this camera to bracket exposures. This will show you how I have it set. It's going to take 3 frames, and unfortunately that's the best this particular camera will do. Some of the even better ones will take up to 9 frames and maybe even more. But I'm going to bracket by 2 stops. 2 stops under, take one, supposedly right on the money, and then 2 stops over. And to do this, it's best, I've seen guys hand hold it, but I wouldn't really recommend it, as a tripod. And then this little gadget here is a little $25 item, a remote shutter release, and it cuts down on vibration of you pressing the camera shutter, because you're going to have to stack some exposures up, and more in line they all are with one another, the easier this gets. I found this, near sunset, you can tell from the light, out in a field at a friend's farm, and thought it was kind of interesting. And this is the bracketed exposures. This one is 2 stops under. Actually looks pretty good, except there's not much detail back here in the shadows. It goes kind of black, although we do have some color in the sky. And the one that supposedly is the best exposure, I've got some burnt out highlights. The sky is almost white. Got pretty good detail back here in the shadows. And this one is overexposed, but I've got great shadow detail. And the next thing I need to do this is get some software that will help do this. I'm using Photomatix Pro, which is my favorite, and they give students a break on it if you really are interested on the price. And it's going to ask me to load some pictures, and so I'm going to select forward -2, forward, and forward +2, and load them. There's no real choices here except what pictures do you want to use. And it shows you what you got and the exposure information on them. There's not much, again, to do here except get my merge options. About ghosts. Ghosts is caused by things that moved during the exposure of the 3 images, like people, or if there's a little breeze, leaves and stuff. Show it. This will give you some control over that. And so now it's going to align the images. And this has I've seen this software probably 6 years ago, and they keep improving it, making it easier. And here, I don't have any ghosts in here. There wasn't a speck of breeze, and shot it with a tripod, so made my life pretty easy here. And I'm going to click OK, and we'll go to the next thing. And so it's actually merging them. What it's doing is called tone mapping. And you can't really see what it actually does And it used to be you didn't have all these kind of presets over here on the right side. You just messed over here. But this one's supposedly balanced. You can see I've got great detail back here. My skies are blue. My blown out highlights have detail in them. But there's all kinds of options that you can go through. A lot of this I think looks like you've taken some kind of psychedelic. But you can play with this and see it. I don't care for a lot of this, but we'll see what this one looks like. And I've got good detail back here in this. I've got good detail down here where I had almost pure blacks. My sky's blue. It looks pretty good, so I could just go okay. Or I can come over here and start playing with these sliders, and I'm getting more saturated color. That might be a little much, but might not be. Change the temperature from warm to make it warmer, cooler, and brightness. We'll mess with that a little bit. And it's starting to look like some of the others that I didn't really care for. And I think I'm going to push this back to where I'm kind of almost in danger of losing these shadows. And just next finish. And it will save it for me. And that's really all there is to this. Lots of fun. Get online. Do a Google search for HDR photography, and you will see an amazing range of stuff. Have